We'll get on with the 120C. Now, I don't want to bore everyone with the typical 120C talk. There's quite a few YouTube videos out there that, talk about all the features. Everyone knows all the features. I'm going to complain. I like this light, don't get me wrong. But yeah, there's a few things, hiccups there that people aren't quite covering. They're kind of being apologetic. Everyone likes to pretend that every equipment they buy is the best thing out there. And there's some things that really annoy me about this thing, even though I like it. As everyone knows, when you do RGB lights, it weakens the output of the light as opposed to if you got a plain old daylight balanced light. So because it needs more colors in there, and then that reduces the output of the light. This is 13,000 lux rating, and then if you saw Gerald Undun's video, he rated it at 16,000 lux. So they're underselling themselves at Amaran. Right now, I have it on set to the fire effect. That is one of the things that annoys me. It looks like fire. I'll be fair. But I'll get to that later on. But this is a very bright light for a battery-powered light. It takes 24 volts, so your typical V-mount batteries, they're 14 volts. They're not going to work with this. If they have USB output, this is a 140-watt light. You are going to have to break the bank and get 3 digits for your battery banks. The battery bank for this is yet to be released, which is annoying. Yeah, Amaran, apparently they do not like V-mounts. There was a trade show where the guy was presenting the Amaran 120C, and he was like, yeah, we're going to get away from D-taps. We kind of feel that, or Amaran feels that's a thing of the past. I like these things because I already own them. I don't want to buy a few $100s worth of batteries. Right now, I have the grid on. Let me show you the Amaran right here. The softbox included is actually fairly nice. As long as you're up close to it, like you're doing like a content creation thing. This is too close, actually, but it's close enough for interview lights if you're in tight quarters, and I find myself doing interviews in tight quarters, literally closets sometimes. Yeah, it helps to pack small, and this helps a big deal. I have the grid on the softbox. I have the softbox already assembled because it is a pain in the butt to strap on. It's going to slip off. But this is the typical LED panel light, and luckily they are included. The one thing that I do find annoying is that this light is actually kind of slow to connect to the app at times. Sometimes it freezes where all the other Amaran lights just go on right away. And hopefully it doesn't freeze on me. And then I'm controlling it through the app, and then yeah. If you are an effects person, and then one of the things people like about RGB lights are the effects. The colors are preset. You really have no choice over the colors. Like for the fire effect, you have the option of warmer, natural. That makes no sense. Why would you want blue fire? And cooler, which makes even less sense. Why would you want ice fire? To be fair, that kind of looks like the television set, so it's another option for the television effect, I guess. But you cannot pick your fire effect color. You're stuck with this. Yeah, the effects aren't a huge deal. Like, it's like good to have them, but it's like you kind of roll your eyes and you're like, all right. Occasionally, I'll do the 48-hour film festival. Maybe that helps, but let me just see if I can just pop this on normal. When you switch folders, if you like hit the CCT folder or the gel color folder, you actually have to adjust the setting to turn off the effect. So that's one thing that's kind of annoying there. All right, and this will just give you the effect of like what the softbox can do in an interview. It's still kind of harsh, but you're getting a pleasant fall off from the shadows, and then yeah, it could be softer. I'm seeing my wrinkles there. I don't like to see wrinkles. Right now I have it on the grid. Let me just take the grid off. All right, so this is without the grid. It looks actually a little bit more pleasant shadow-wise without the grid. And you do have to get very close if you want to do an interview with this, so not looking terrible, it just needs fill light. Alright, so that should give you a sense of what the softbox can do as once you have proper fill with the shadows. I still look ugly, but at least the light's somewhat soft for a panel light, because usually panel lights have bad reputations. They were kind of the fad during 2010, and then they went out of style because they're pretty much awful. But now they're much better now. This is without any diffusion whatsoever. It's very bright. This is not even 1%, this is 0.1%. So modern LED lights that are competitive with 300-watt cob lights that have been reintroduced into the market, that's one thing I've noticed that it's a minor complaint. The lowest power setting is still very bright. Like this is literally 0.1%. So you can't get much lower than this. If you want to go lower, you're gonna have to whip out and defilter sometimes, so you might have to carry neutral density gels if you start getting into panel lights. This is the thing everyone makes fun of, the diaper diffusion sheet. If they're including a softbox, I have no clue why they gave you this. Okay, the diaper diffusion looks ridiculous. I'm embarrassed to actually show that to a client. It's getting blown out. Let me turn this down. But yeah, that looks like a diaper on your light. Not a good look for clients. I don't even think I want to use this for personal use. I have no clue why they gave it to us. What's wrong with the softbox? Does it, I mean, it's kind of like, everyone complains about how hard the softbox is to put together. It's not that bad, but it's like, yeah, the softbox takes too long to put together. Let's give them a diaper. And you get this little laptop-sized travel case with it. And then the parts fold in like this. The only thing is, it has the typical Amaran feature of having a very small bag. If any of you are familiar with the F21, that bag is very small, and you have to, the plug presses right up against the zipper. It's no different with this. This is very tight with the included accessories, and then this pouch is kind of loose, and you have to be careful your things don't fall out. And this is not included. This is a 240 watt rated USB cable for battery control. You're going to want to invest in some of these. These aren't expensive, but if you just grab a battery bank and then plug in any old USB-C cable, you're going to get your output highly restricted on this. It'll say 45% for what have you. And a lot of times the wire is bottlenecking it. You need a wire that's rated very high power, at least 140 watts. So if you grab a random USB-C cable, that might be as little as 5 watts, and you may not even realize it because no one likes labeling USB-C cables when they make them and give them to you. I'll go over the Barndoor set in a while. That is separate, but that does not fit into the case without you leaving the top zipper wide open and looking very sloppy. So I really wanted there to be at least some room in there for the Barndoor set, because the Barndoor does not come with a case, and I don't want to carry the Barndoor separately. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do the live stream. Not many people are talking about the Barndoor set. It makes sense because barn doors and LED panel lights usually are like oil and water. The way LED panel lights are set up, you have all these tiny lights. And whenever you have multiple light sources, LED panel lights notoriously have poor diffusion. The diffusion on this actually works pretty well. So, to be fair to Amaran. But whenever you have all these little tiny point lights where you can visibly see the seam in between each light, that's going to create multiple shadows, which requires stronger diffusion as opposed to normal cob lights, which are just one big source that's continuous. These tiny little dots in here will make multiple shadows with barn doors, which is why you need barn doors that cover the whole length of the light, like Amaran does. And luckily they gave us barn doors that cover the whole light source. You see they're about the same width. There are so many cheap LED lights on the market, and where the barn doors are only like 2 inches and the light's like a foot, and that's not going to do anything except make really bad shadows. So that's one of the reasons I love the barn doors. I originally was not going to get them because I'm suspicious of barn doors on LED panel lights, but once I saw how big the panels were, I was like, all right, maybe this works. The pleasant surprise is, they did not mention this on the product description, but you see right there, there is a diffusion panel in there. It pops out if you do not want it. It's magnetic, but you do not have to worry about the shadow quality using barn doors with LED panels, because not only is this diffused pretty well as is, you should still diffuse it if you use the barn doors, but you get extra diffusion. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really curious why they gave us the diaper diffusion that I just showed you, because the diffusion on this actually, on the barn doors, actually works better. All right, and that's what you look like right there. Let me magnetize this in there. All right, let's see what these barn doors look like. For a quick diffusion panel, it diffuses the light pretty well, I would say. You can, you obviously see harsh shadows on my nose, but for an LED panel barn door set, that's not too bad. All right, and I am not really seeing that many harsh shadows as far as multiple shadows go, so the diffusion panel is actually doing a decent job. The only thing is, like, once you put a diffusion on barn doors, that's obviously going to soften the edge of the barn door, so you're not going to get that clean cut effect. And you probably shouldn't take the diffusion off when you use barn doors on an LED panel light. It just never looks nice. But if you just wanted a pool of light with a soft fall off, you get the bedroom door with the murderer on the other side, and you have the eyeball peeking through, figuring out his escape shot. I don't know if this shows up on camera. You can see stripes from each LED separation on the barn doors. That is one reason why you don't want to, get too caught up in barn doors with LED lights, and which is why you want to keep this diffusion panel on. But you'll see I'm striping right there. A lot of lights do that, but it's particularly bad with LED panel lights. But oddly enough, this is like the only usable barn door set for LED panels that I've come across. Let me get this back on there so it doesn't look bad. Oh, that's one thing I should mention. You see this foam? This is the foam that came included with the barn door set. It's trash, but a lot of people like putting pool noodles on tube lights, by the Nanlink. But this also is diffusion. If you wanted to keep it, if you want extra diffusion, if you wanted the pool noodle version of panel lights, you can just keep the styrofoam that comes included to protect it. This is my main issue with the Amaran. This stand is garbage. The swivel, look at this. It's not the stand, it is the magnetic lock here. There's two hooks in here. I don't know if you can see that. And then you just hit this blue button to unleash it. There is you can see right here, there is an electrical component that is meant for the Amaran Peak. That is Amaran's proprietary battery bank. Luckily, you can use any battery bank on here. The thing is, it's very finicky with what battery bank you put on. I'll get into that later, but the Amaran Peak, as far as I can tell, is going to be proprietary, only working with this ACE-lock system. They advertise it as being cable-free, so I'm not expecting USB outputs on the Amaran Peak. I hope they do put them on there just so you get better use out of it for other devices, and it's not just locked to the ACE-lock system, because who knows how long that's going to be around. The swivel mount itself is very sturdy. It's just the connection right here with the magnetic connection that has two hooks. It works with small LED lights like the ACE 25. Potentially it's alright with the Pano, the 60C Pano, which is the smaller version. This is way too heavy. Once again, this is one of my favorite lights. I had to do an outdoor shoot. I took this out as fill. And that's where some of the problems with this light really showed their head. The shoot went fine, but how wobbly this is. I like this for outdoor use because you can't plug lights in outdoors, and sometimes a lot of the times you need a light that can compete with the sun and be more powerful than little 25-watt inky dinky lights. If you're outside and there's just a tiny bit of wind, this is going to wobble. A lot of people just blow it off and say, it'll hold, it'll be fine. It's embarrassing. You don't want to be on set and have this wobble back and forth, because this is bare. When you're on set, you're going to have the softbox attached to it. You are going to have these heavy metal barn doors attached to it. I really like this barn door set, but that's one of the reasons that really annoys me with this wobbly ACE lock that a lot of people don't seem to be bothered by. But if you get the barn door set, you're going to hate this ACE lock. And not only that, the battery issues, because the battery, Amaran Peak, their proprietary battery that we have to wait 3 months for, once tariffs kick in, and we have to probably pay $200 maybe. I don't know what the price is. They did not disclose it. You're going to be stuck without the battery bank for a few months, but I had to improvise and use V-mount batteries. You're going to need V-mount batteries like the newer or this generic one that have 100-watt outputs at least. This takes 140 watts. If you have a less than 140-watt rating on your USB output, you're going to be capped off power-wise. It'll say 45%. You can't go higher than that, or you can't go higher than 80%. Amaran and Aputure products, they don't get a lot of heat for this, but they annoy me because they give, not only are they very power hungry, you'll get like a 100-watt light from Aputure or Amaran. It'll drain your battery twice as fast as a 100-watt light from a competitor. Not only that, they give you inaccurate readings. You'll get accurate readings with Nanlite, Newer. You put like your batteries on an Aputure Amaran product. It'll say, oh, you got an hour left. Then you go you go do something for 5 minutes, make a sandwich, and then 5 minutes later, it'll be like, yeah, you got 10 minutes left. And I was like, what happened? One of the things I don't like about this light, you have to do trial and error with your batteries. If you do math calculations with the watt hours versus the output. So you can usually, for every other light, you can do like little quick calculations to get an estimate of how long it's going to last. If you know what the power requirements are, you cannot do this with this. Both of these have 100 watt outputs, the newer and then this very generic First Power V-mount battery. This has less capacity, even though this one is not as powerful as the newer. The Amaran light, when I plugged it in the 100 watt USB port, it said you cannot go higher than 70%. When I went over 70%, like 71%, it immediately shut off. This is the weird thing. I put this battery in. This battery should be totally fine at 80%. When I put this battery in, even though it has like a little bit more power than this one said 70%. Amaran, the light, said you cannot go past 45% with this battery, which shocked me. I was like, why is it so much less than this battery? This has slightly more juice. I put this at 80%. I put this at 100%. It did not shut off. It ran just fine. Very weird that it would say that the battery that works better is capped off at 45%. The battery that shuts off, it claims, is good for 70%. When this one went at full power. Why is it giving me a lower rating for this battery? I have no idea. And so that really annoys me why the Amaran Peak is not out yet. And what's really annoying is like I prefer to have at least an hour on battery life, even though that's kind of small. You obviously have to hoard around batteries, and the batteries are heavy. Amaran said that the Amaran Peak, the custom battery bank that goes into the 8-slot without wires, that we have to wait 3 months for, it says that'll do 40 minutes at full power, which to me seemed kind of measly, especially since, again, it's after tariffs. We're probably going to have to spend in excess of $200 on that because the battery banks like the Anker 300 DC that they recommend that you use in the meantime, those are in the $200 to $300 range. The Amaran Peak is 40 minutes at full power. This third-party battery bank made by iFootage. It is called the Electric Ray PD140H. If any of you guys are familiar with the NanoShark 2 slider, that's the slider that hooks up to your DJI Ronin and sets in and out points. There is, I just learned about this and just ordered this because this is cheap. This is like a little over $100. It is 55 minutes at full power. It beats out the Amaran Peak by 15 minutes. It's available now, not 3 months from now. And we know for a fact that you can hook up USB power to this, so this is good for pretty much any device out there. So luckily, even though the swivel mount at the bottom I hate, there is a measly screw mount on the very top here. But this can either screw in here, like that, which works just fine, it's stable. The baby pin is detachable, so you do not have to use a baby pin if not. But what's cool is because it has a baby pin included, for whatever reason, if you wanted to use a swivel and keep the light upright and not upside down, all you have to do is get the Amaran swivel and put it on the baby pin, and then you can carry it around like that. For whatever reason, if you are one of the apologists that like to pretend that the swivel is good. If any of you remember Amaran with the F21C, that is their flexible LED matte light. Everyone complained about the frame on that. And then they had to make a new one, and then you had to mail order and wait 6 weeks for that to come in. I'm assuming that they'll eventually have to do that with this. At least I hope they do. I think reviews are good for live streaming because you can actually see the product without editing, and you get to ask questions live. So that's something I've always thought reviews should be going towards live stream as opposed to produce a video that's edited later to make the sponsor look good. I'm not sponsored. No one would sponsor me. But that's good because I can curse them out and call their swivels garbage.